Good morning, class. I hope you're having an awesome morning so far and that you enjoy your Wednesday. So, today, what we're going to be doing is yesterday we read section one and you took little sidebar notes using Cami, and some of you might have highlighted certain things. Today, we're actually going to take physical notes on the first two pages in this section. So, that is page 204 and page 205. So, really, it will be dealing with the main topic of government by the states. Okay. But before we get started, I want to kind of walk you through the way I take notes. And again, I'd like you to do it my way the first time. And if after that, you can prove that the way you take notes is just as good, which many of you can have your own style that works for you. I will be totally okay with that. I'm going to show you two different versions of my style today. And again, we're only doing the first two pages of the notes. So the first thing I really like to look at is, first off, the section title, Governing a New Nation. And I will actually physically write that. Chapter 7, Creating the Constitution. Section 1, Governing a New Nation. Every section starts with a focus question. In this section, it is what were the major successes and failures of the government under the Articles of Confederation? So that's what we're really like thinking about as we read through this whole section. It doesn't mean there's going to be other stuff that we're not going to read about. And you might be able to go through and pick that specific answer out right away. But you won't understand it if you don't have the other surrounding details and facts from reading the section. So I actually, in my notes, like to write that focus question down. Okay, in this, you can see I wrote it down right there. In my other notes, you can see I wrote it down as well. Okay, in my other notes, I actually wrote down the key terms and people. And really, this is just a way to check as I'm reading and as I'm taking my notes. If the chapter is saying that these are important terms and people, I pretty much should know them and will need to know them to be able to grasp an understanding of the whole section. So a lot of times I like to write down at the beginning of the section when I'm taking notes the key terms and people. And as I go through and read and find those things, I'm going to box them or highlight them within my notes and define them. Or if it's a person, explain why they are important. As I go through, we have two types of headings. So, like, we've got the main heading, which you can see is red, and then we've got subheadings in blue. So I actually like to label them when I'm taking my notes. So you can see I have government by the states. And in this example, you can see I'm using one to do the main headings. So the first one is government by the states. You can see as we go through, you're not going to be doing this one today because you're only doing the first two pages. But the second one would be the Articles of Confederation, which you see matches in my notes. Now, the key to taking good notes is really reading the whole thing through first. So, if you're going to take notes on a section like these first two pages, I'd read through it once and then go back because when I look at your notes, so for instance, government by the states, this in the textbook is two whole pages, okay, of information. And we've got the subheadings of writing the state constitutions and protecting rights, which you can see I have states write new constitutions, and part protecting people's rights is over here. And you can see in my other notes, as an example, government by the states, writing state constitutions, I kind of moved in a little bit and starred next to them, and protecting rights, I starred next to them. And you can see, comparing these two, this one I kind of really condensed my thoughts, and this one I gave a little more detail. The big thing is when I'm looking at your notes or when you're taking notes, if it's two pages of really small print like this textbook, I shouldn't see 2 to 3 pages or even one full page of notes because you don't want to write down word for word what is in the book. The idea is to summarize. That's the real key to taking notes. So when you go back and look at your notes, it's almost as if you're reading the key focus questions or answering some of the objectives that you see on the side here. Because when you're completely done, when you go through and see these things that are objectives and that focus question, you should be able to go back to your notes and answer them without reading the text. Okay. When you go through the text as well, when you're done your notes, you're going to see um, checkpoint questions. So you could write them down just as a guide to you, that when you're going back and looking at your notes, be like, well, from that section, I should be able to gather that why did many state constitutions limit the power of state governors? And if you write that down and you answer those questions, you should have a good grasp of understanding what you did in that section with your notes and whether or not you took good notes. All right. So, other things that some people do, some people use highlighters to highlight important things. I do that sometimes as well. I really want you to take your time with your notes. I find notes to, I know this is weird, but I find them to be fun. It's kind of peaceful to break things down and stay organized. I like that process. So I hope that you do this thing as well and take your time and enjoy it for today. We'll look at it tomorrow when you come into class. Those of you that are going to be home the whole time, okay, we'll jump in during our live sessions and talk about it. Have a great day.